We're sitting around what 94K Bitcoin prices today. We had the crazy run up through like 100K, and then everything cooled off, and everyone's feeling like, okay, was that it? Right? And I'm here to tell you that we have not seen anything yet.
Today I sit down with Brandon Green, Chief of Staff at BTC Inc., the company behind the Bitcoin conference, the Bitcoin magazine, and an insider in the space.
You're going to look back in this moment and be like, I can't believe anyone was questioning whether this bull market was just getting started. Like, obviously, it was just getting started. And yet here we are, like everyone's still questioning it.
We talk about what's next for Bitcoin, including the Bitcoin space race, how other countries are now buying Bitcoin for a strategic reserve so they don't fall behind.
10 plus, maybe 15 plus conversations with different people in different countries. And it's really just a matter of time before those get announced.
My brother and I will be speaking at Bitcoin Conference 2025. Use code Altcoin Daily for 10% off your ticket. And watch today's entire video as Brandon Green gives his updated end of bull market 2025 Bitcoin price prediction.
And all of those things just combine for a crazy, prolonged, insane bull market. And so I think at the end of the bull market, by the end of this year, we could see...
Like the video to support me. And let's start, Brandon. Remind us your background in Bitcoin.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been working at BTC now for almost 8 years. Really, it's crazy. It's been that long, man. I mean, 2017 doesn't feel that long ago, and yet here we are. And I've done just about everything for the company. I started as an intern, and worked my way up through the Bitcoin magazine and Bitcoin conference side, and yeah, now kind of overseeing everything at the org these days. So it's a fun time to be running things, and this is a fun market to be in, and I think we're just getting started. So very excited to chat.
Now, Aaron and I spoke at the Bitcoin conference last year. We'll be speaking at the conference this year. Trump spoke last year. There's so many notable speakers this year. Are you in charge of those conversations, like when Trump wants to speak or Michael Saylor wants to come back again?
Yeah, I tend to jump into a lot of the conversations as it pertains to the main stage speakers. We have a really amazing programming team that's overseeing, the agenda soup to nuts. But on some of those special ones, I tend to jump in and get my hands dirty.
We'll talk more about this at the end. Use code Altcoin Daily for the folks at home. If you want to come to Bitcoin conference, Altcoin Daily for 10% off. Hang out, talk with Michael Saylor, talk with us. But Brandon, I really wanted to get you on to just pick your brain about Bitcoin in 2025. Would you just start by setting the table of where Bitcoin is right now?
Where is Bitcoin right now? So obviously, I think today is officially the 100-day mark of the Trump administration, right? So in those 100 days, we've seen the largest economy, the largest financial economy in the world, flip from one that is hostile to Bitcoin to one that is trying to be as supportive as possible. And I think with that comes a lot of lagging effects that are going to be felt in the market in the back half of this year. But let's not forget that we already had a watershed moment of the U.S. government announcing a strategic Bitcoin reserve. We have not yet heard the audit results of how much Bitcoin or how many Bitcoins the U.S. government is currently sitting on. Those will come out in due time. We don't know the timeline on those. We're waiting on Trump to make that announcement himself. But once that happens, and once some of the trade conversations are in a more smooth place, let's say, we actually were just talking to Secretary Lutnick, and he said that a very key thing to start talking about soon is the acquisition program for the U.S. government to be buying Bitcoin. So that hasn't started yet, as far as we know. That will start. That is out there as something that the market should know is about to happen. And so this is going to be truly a new category of market participant entering for the first time that operates on a number of zeros that no other market participant has the ability to do. And so, this is not a gradual increase in the usage and participation of Bitcoin. This is a phase change of what Bitcoin does for the world. It is no longer going to be something that plebs and even financial institutions get to kind of, be the main market participants. Now we're going to be in the world of settling trade and securing currencies around the world and backing governments and all sorts of things. I mean, Bitcoin is entering into a brand new part of its life, and I think this is a massively exciting moment for Bitcoin. And it's almost surreal to be talking to you like in this moment. We're just right on the precipice of the actual machinations coming to fruition over the next probably 100 to 200 days.
It's crazy that this is actually happening because when Trump was promising, we all had hopes, but the fact that he got it done, Bitcoin, strategic Bitcoin reserve in the first 100 days, huge. And thus far, it's been committing, auditing, and committing to hold the Bitcoin the United States government already has. In terms of buying the Bitcoin, especially which will cost taxpayers nothing, is the hope. How do you think that happens?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a few different things that are being tossed around in policy circles, and certainly BPI. I'll give them a plug. They've done some great work on talking about different programs that already exist in the Department of Treasury that could be used to purchase the Bitcoin at a budget neutral way. And the key term with the current SBR kind of language is that it needs to be budget neutral, right? For right now, it needs to be budget neutral. Now, there may come a time where that's not the case, where it doesn't have to be budget neutral. And then you have all sorts of different programs that can emerge around an acquisition strategy. And certainly if Senator Lummis's Bitcoin Act gets passed in Congress, then that will also have like an appropriation side for there to be actual not budget neutral purchases of Bitcoin. But the reality is budget neutral in and of itself is quite the large scope. If you just look at the way that the I forget the term, but it's that agency that is in charge of kind of looking at bills and deciding what their how much they're going to actually cost taxpayers, right? They generally take a 10-year lens on the total cost and the total projected revenues on a government program to decide whether or not that program is what it's going to cost, right? And so you get all these bills all the time that are billions or trillions of dollars up front and spending, and then they're like in 10 years like we're going to make $10 trillion, and it's actually we're going to make money on like that's how they do this to say like, oh, this isn't costing us anything, like we're going to make money on this. And so that introduces a lot of opportunity as well for us to say like, okay, well, we'll go buy $1 million or a million Bitcoin today, and we'll pay it back in 10 years. We'll pay back the dollars that it cost us to buy it in 10 years and hold on to whatever Bitcoin remains. Like that, I got a feeling that in 10 years' time, Bitcoin's going to be sitting in a different stratosphere in terms of the price, that paying that back wouldn't be too difficult. So all that to say, and then that's if we ever actually even need to pay it back, right? So all that to say, like I think that there's actually plenty of leverage to work with in terms of like a very robust acquisition strategy. We're just waiting to hear from the administration what they plan to do, and then see what Congress wants to do in order to supplement that.
The fact that the American government is getting into this massive game changer, yet many people are calling this the new arms race, the digital arm race, because other countries are now forced, whether they're going to do it this year or not, are forced to take it seriously this year and either get a strategic Bitcoin reserve sooner or wait and buy higher later. Other countries adopting a Bitcoin strategic reserve. Is that happening, and what degree?
Oh, it's absolutely happening. We are fortunate enough to be uh, from time to time talking to people who have direct knowledge of what these government activities are. And we got very strong signals from those folks between when Trump won election and when he took office, where people were saying, hey, if he does this, we're doing it. We had 10 plus, maybe 15 plus conversations with different people in different countries that had basically said, like, if Trump does this, our country is doing this too. And it's really just a matter of time before those get announced and get papered or whatever sort of processes they need in order to be public about it. But privately, it's already happening, and I know that for a fact.
So would you say by the end of 2025, December 31st, there'll be 10 announced strategic Bitcoin reserves of other countries, or 2026, or what's the timeline?
It's a question of whether they'll be announced. But will there be 10 strategic reserves around the world? Absolutely. there probably already are, to be honest. Like like I could probably name in my head uh at least five other countries that already have them and just aren't public with it right now. And again, it's like, it's one thing to have a reserve of Bitcoin. It's another thing to be actively accumulating it based on some sort of strategy around your currency, around trade balances, et cetera. And so, um, you know, think of this sort of similar to in retail, like you first learn about Bitcoin, right? And you first buy some, right? It's one thing to say like, oh yeah, I've got like 1% of my net worth in Bitcoin. It's another thing to be like, I need to accumulate as much Bitcoin as I can possibly buy, right? And that is the path that these countries are going to take because that is what Bitcoin incentives, tee up. Like this is what everyone does. They get into Bitcoin. They're like, oh, I'll just get a little bit, and then the next thing you know, like every portion of your paycheck that you don't have to hammer down like goes straight into Bitcoin, right? So I expect this to happen in short order with many of these countries, and the reality is that the first country to start thinking like that wins.
The Bitcoin conference, the largest crypto conference in North America, one of the largest conferences in the world, is known for having announcements. Every single year, El Salvador, when they first announced their buying, big announcement. Um, I know you can't give them all away, but what type of announcements for those who attend the Bitcoin conference this year should we expect?
Yeah, so there's going to be a couple of companies making big announcements in the space. Like, there's one announcement that I even think like my team is under tracking on in terms of how big it is. This is a company that has been, everyone's been waiting for them to make an announcement as it relates to Bitcoin and especially Lightning for the better part of like 5 or 6, maybe 7 years. That people have been like, okay, when is this happening? It's happening at our event this year. And so we're very excited to make that announcement with them and show the world the power of what Bitcoin can do. And I'm not going to say anything more on that because I don't want to give anything away. But it's a massive announcement that I am personally really excited about. There's going to be a couple other like mainstream companies that are building products within the Bitcoin space that are going to be debuting those. I think we'll have probably a Bitcoin mining ASIC company that's got a big announcement to share that we're already teeing up. And the last thing I'll say is that we have some major speakers that we haven't announced yet. It's today is April 30th. I'm talking right now with um, let's just say really big people in the administration that I'm like waiting to get on the phone with him later today to basically nail down timing and all of that, and hoping that we get this announcement out by the end of this week. So and there's multiple of those, and there's multiple people that are of that caliber that aren't part of the administration that you'll be shocked to see as a speaker for our event too. So like we're not done even shooting our clip yet. So this is going to be a massive event, and it's definitely once again one that if you miss it, you're going to be kicking yourself and being like, I wasn't there when Bitcoin history was once again made at the Bitcoin conference. So it's going to be an amazing event, and then on top of that, you get to see everybody. You get to everyone's going to be there. You get to hang out. We're in Vegas. It's going to be fun. And if you need a job, this is the time to go get a job. We're at the beginning of the bull market. All these companies are hiring right now. There's massive stuff happening in the capital markets. I mean, we could that's like a whole rabbit hole in and of itself we could talk about. But
Well, this is
yeah,
my
man. I mean,
question.
go
This is
ahead.
my question. Altcoin Daily speaks to an audience of over 3 million across all social platforms. I know a ton of the Altcoin Daily army is showing up. They love the Bitcoin conference. They've used code Altcoin Daily for 10% off. One of the biggest questions that I get from my audience is, Austin, I'm excited to see you speak, but I want to hang with you. I see Cynthia Loomis is there. Michael Saylor's there. I want to hang with them, at least say hi, not bug them. But if I attend the Bitcoin conference, can I hang out with some of these people I just see on crypto Twitter?
Oh, dude, 100%. Like everyone's hanging out in the venue. This is like one of the cool things that happens about our conference specifically, I think. It's a little different from other conferences in the space. All these conferences are amazing, right? But I think what's special about ours is that people go to the conference during the day. They stay there. They want to see the content. They want to hang out. They want to network, right? It's some of these other events, like you go there. you kind of like stop in, you check out the expo hall floor, and then you bounce to like the 50,000 different side events. And like that's where all the action happens is over at these side events. You never know where anyone's going to be. Like we've got tons of side events that are going to happen around our event, but truly during the day, everyone is there and you can just go see them. And, like Michael Saylor's just walking around the floor, saying hi to people, taking pictures, like meeting people because he just loves being, in and around the army, like you said, the Bitcoin army, the altcoin daily army, it's all the same, right? So, yeah, man. I mean, you can speak for yourself whether they're going to find you on the floor, but I would anticipate that they'll see you there.
100%. That's why I love conferences because you can talk with Bitcoiners and crypto people in real life when so much of crypto is just online in your office, in your room alone. So it's cool to be able to network and just talk with like-minded individuals. Um, Two more questions, Brandon. And this one, I was talking to one of my friends last night who is newly orange pilled just in the last year. And he consumes content every day. And he's telling me he totally understands the bull case for Bitcoin. It seems like an asymmetric opportunity. His question was, what could cause it to fail? There's a non-zero chance. What would be that reason?
Dude, I literally don't know. I've been in this space for 8 years. I've heard plenty of bear cases get put forward of like, oh, well, if this happens, then it's all game over. And then none of those stand up to scrutiny and actually talking through. So, you can say quantum, or you can say, oh, if there's like a global EMP and all the internet, shuts down and like civilization fails. Oh, if civilization fails, like Bitcoin may not, be going up in that, like, okay, sure. But if we're talking about like the future of human flourishing, if we're talking about making humans multiplanetary and like, recognizing that life is robust and that our goal is to grow and to expand and to invent and to, become, right, to integrate into something bigger than we are currently, right, then Bitcoin is a key piece of that puzzle of how we get there, and there's no two ways about it. And so as long as you don't ascribe to some sort of anti-human, negative growth mindset and worldview, then there really is no bear case for Bitcoin. There is no world in which Bitcoin fails.
I said to this friend, the only thing that I could see is if governments and central banks globally suddenly started to become fiscally responsible, meaning they solved the debt thing on their own, they stopped printing money. Now, everything we've seen for the last modern times and global times or long-term times is they're fiscally irresponsible. They print now because they want to get voted back in or chosen back in, and the debt is out of control. There's really no way to solve that but printing. But if somehow they started to become fiscally responsible, oh, that would make Bitcoin less relevant.
It could take a back seat in terms of the prioritization if you actually have fiscal responsibility. But the fact of the matter is that these systems are set up to encourage fiscal irresponsibility. You don't get rewarded, you don't get voted back into office for making everyone, poorer, right? Like for being like, hey, we're not going to spend any money and all these government programs are going to shut down and we're not going to pump money into the system and you're not going to see your retirement account go up. It's going to go down, right? We're going to have a strong dollar. You don't get invited back to the club after that, So it's like even if there was a short period where all these countries, woke up and said like, wow, we're inflating away people's futures, let's maybe stop doing that. At the end of the day, if they see number go up in their bank account or they see number go up on their assets that they're holding or whatever, like they're going to want to see that continue, and that won't continue in a fiscally responsible environment, and then on top of that you have like debt repayment and all these other things that are going to become unsustainable portions of the government budget. So it's what is it, Lynn Alden always says, tap the sign, like nothing stops this train.
What is your Bitcoin price prediction by end of 2025, 2026? Be real.
I know, and I always get into trouble because I have very lofty bull market predictions. I would say, first of all, I expect this bull market to extend well beyond 2025 into late 2026, or beyond. Right? I think that this is the first cycle in which the like 18 months after the halving, you kind of hit a peak somewhere around December of the following year, and then you go into a year-long bear market. I think that that's not going to happen this cycle. There's too much structural difference in the way that Bitcoin buying and accumulation is being done, that it's just not going to support that sort of crazy short blow off cycle. It's going to be a steady, uh, uh, not face melting at first, maybe eventually face melting run up until you eventually hit some sort of credit contraction cycle in the back half of the Trump administration. But like that's where we are right now. Like we've just basically been in a credit, an M2 money supply contraction cycle, and you're seeing over the past few months that start to just once again go parabolic, and you'll feel those effects in the Bitcoin market for years to come. And so I have a feeling that we're going to be going through this expansionary, fiscal and monetary policy environment that's going to be mixed with U.S. government and other governments around the world having an acquisition strategy, and it's going to be mixed with now, public companies adopting the MicroStrategy playbook in every capital market around the world, and them being able to leverage cheap debt and a need for Bitcoin exposure in order to accumulate billions of dollars of Bitcoin a week, um, like without any respite. And all of those things just combine for a crazy, prolonged, insane bull market. And so I think at the end of the bull market, uh, $1 million Bitcoin price is like very much within reach. Uh, Again, like that could be at the end of 2026. It could even stretch on to 2027. Like this is going to be a long bull market. Um, but I think in terms of like the end of 2025, we'll see, like again, some of these machinations have to actually start. And I don't know when they're going to start. We know that they're coming. We don't know the day that they're coming. And so is it going to be November of this year? Is it going to be January of next year? Is it going to be tomorrow? Right? We just don't know. And so yeah, I would be remiss to try and put a crazy sort of price prediction on what will happen at the end of this year. I more see the structural things coming together. But for the sake of this show, right?
Please.
I'll go ahead and throw a number out. I'll say that by the end of this year, we could see $210,000 Bitcoin price, and I would say that that's a reasonable number. That's not too crazy. That can't be the craziest number you hear on the show this year.
No way. We hear crazy numbers in both directions, but I love the reasoning you gave behind yours. And just to focus on, let's say 2027, end of 2026, top of cycle, $1 million of Bitcoin. Where does that money come from to push the market cap up that high? Like, is it taken out of real estate or what?
Well, first of all, we're just going to print it. We're going to go back into a inflationary, money printing cycle very shortly. We're just waiting on the Fed to cut rates. Like this is all coming. Um, and I would say, in terms of like maybe things that you could see get demonetized, real estate's definitely there. Although I wouldn't, put my money on real estate getting demonetized by Bitcoin. But the gold market, uh, I think that there's going to be a real need for a credibly neutral money for foreign trade that's going to emerge in this cycle. And you're going to see some countries opt for gold at first, and maybe they opt for Bitcoin by the end of the cycle. Maybe they don't, right? Maybe that takes longer. But you will see some that are going to be like, okay, I can either get this yellow rock that I have to stick on oil tankers and ship around the world to do transactions, or I have to stick it in some custodian in Switzerland and hope that it actually exists there. And then we're going to like reassign ownership based on trade. Or I can use the global payment rail that is Bitcoin to settle my transactions with other countries instantaneously or within 10 minutes for next to no money without the need of any custodian, and have it be verified by, the entire global hash rate. Like there are going to be countries that opt for that. And so that is going to cause a massive use case for Bitcoin, and it could eat into the gold market cap. Like I think where ultimately where that $1 million number comes from is gold Bitcoin parity or Bitcoin surpassing gold this cycle. That's the goal. And I think right now, like if Bitcoin were to hit parity with gold at the moment, it's in like the 800K range. So a million is not crazy at all from that perspective.
Brandon, I want to have you back on at least by 2026. We'll revisit this. I love the perspective you bring. Links for Bitcoin conference, you personally down below. Final thoughts for the Altcoin Daily Army.
Yeah, I mean, all I'll say is that we're sitting around what 94K Bitcoin prices today. Uh, we had the crazy run up through like 100K, and then everything cooled off, and everyone's feeling like, okay, was that it? Right? And I'm here to tell you that we have not seen anything yet. This is going to be the craziest 4 years, 3 years, whatever the cycle ends up being, that anyone will ever experience. And, I'll also say that I think that 90% of the Bitcoin you will ever own, you are going to get in the next 12 months. And so, now is the time to be like seriously positioning yourself and preparing for a world in which Bitcoin takes over. And it's going to be face ripping. It's going to be face melting. It's also going to be massively destabilizing. And it's going to be just a massive opportunity for people who understood fundamentally what was going on with Bitcoin to be ahead of the curve and to be rewarded for that. And so this is an exciting time. You're going to look back in this moment and be like, I can't believe anyone was questioning whether this bull market was just getting started. Like, obviously, it was just getting started. And yet here we are, like everyone's still questioning it, right? Uh, and yeah, I'll see you guys on the moon.
Love it. Thanks, man.